My 7-year boyfriend, 32M, wants me, 29M, to live in a condo he plans to buy and pay him rent. My boyfriend, 32M, and I, 29M, have been together for 7 years. In those years, we've watched friends transition their shorter relationships into marriage and big life decisions, reflecting their commitment to each other. We both don't believe in marriage. I think it's a somewhat common position in the gay community, but we have previously made it clear that this relationship is for the long haul. From my perspective, though, it's lately starting to feel like moving through life as partners is not as much of a priority for my boyfriend as I'd hoped. I'm not sure if it is cultural. He was born in Taiwan, but in our 7 years, we never fully moved in together. We both live in the Vancouver area, and I am thousands of miles away from my family, which has sort of fallen apart and does not have much means to support me. I came here to go to school and get a job, so my only choice has been to rent a place. He, on the other hand, has generally lived with me part-time, contributing a bit of rent, but mostly kept a home base with his mom in the burbs. In fact, he kept this home base all through university and had other support too, so he never needed student loans and could save a lot of money. His mom has been able to continuously cash in on the Vancouver housing market, so has hundreds of thousands of dollars ready for him when he needs it as well. I made different choices around university, probably naively, but hey, I can't go back in time, and have significant student debt. My parents aren't helping me the same way either. Despite these realities though, my house is in order, and I'm able to slowly pay back my debt while also maintaining a decent quality of life. It's not a great situation, because my financial future feels like it will be delayed for nearly 10 years, and who knows what things will look like then. Home ownership feels out of the question, which I struggle with, but I'm okay and at least fiscally responsible. The thing is, my boyfriend is now in a position to buy a condo, and has finally expressed a desire to move in together. I sadly don't have anything to contribute to a down payment, but could comfortably pay half the mortgage and other living expenses. I have couple friends who are also financially mismatched in this way, but they still manage to make the disparity work and go in on home ownership together. I had been hopeful my boyfriend and I could make something work too. I would never ask to take what money is his, but I would hope to be able to pay into some share of the place as an investment so we could both benefit and move forward together. I hoped we could at least sit down and look into it with an expert. Well, my proposition was met with a huge no. If we are to move in together, he basically wants to be my landlord and charge me rent. Non-negotiable. We'd be sharing a one-bedroom place, so the rent would be cheaper than what I pay for my own one-bedroom, but I can't help but think the arrangement is still just wrong. I would understand if we'd only been together a couple years, but we are far past that. I'd understand if I were financially unreliable, but I have a very secure job. So honestly, it feels like I am not being valued as a serious partner, and I am very concerned about the dynamics and emotions that would result out of an arrangement where I pay him rent. He would always feel like the place was his, not ours, and I worry it would give him strange power in the relationship. I would always feel like he was using me to get rich, when I am already disappointed that I am only ever able to tread water financially. On top of that, I now fear that I would always feel like I was not good enough for him to go in as more of a partner, and even his thinking around this arrangement has already hurt me and raised flags. We have talked about it a lot. He knows how I feel and he sort of doesn't care and doesn't think it's fair that he should have to change his position. So here's what I'm wondering. What do my boyfriend's move-in conditions reveal about how he sees the relationship? How would you feel about an arrangement like the one he has engineered? How do you think I should proceed? Is this whole episode a deal-breaker? Thanks for your help. I would love to be able to see things differently, but the pit in my stomach is huge. This is a no-go for me. 7 years is a long time. If he wants to get a place together, that's fine. If he wants you to cover utilities, that's fine. To use the term rent in a 7-year relationship is cringe. Is he out to his immediate and extended family? Or does he need or want to keep a bit of distance between you so that he can treat you as a tenant if he needs to? You would be helping him pay the mortgage, without gaining equity. In a one-bedroom place that you, in theory, should not decorate or invest your own money into. Why would you, if you're only renting? After 7 years? This feels off. I can see from his perspective that he might feel the need to ring-fence his family's investment in property, but he should be able to have that conversation with you openly, not just a flat, no. I wouldn't do it if I were you. It sounds like he's just using you now. Don't ignore your feelings and intuition about this. Honestly, I would reconsider the relationship. Charging your own partner rent, and taking the position that anything in what is supposed to be a mutually beneficial relationship is non-negotiable would be deal-breakers for me. Certainly don't move in with him. Your partner's plan is pretty much the standard financial advice given to someone in his situation. It would be different if you were both contributing the down payment or both of your credit was needed or used, but it's generally recommended not to buy a house with someone who's not your spouse, since it adds risk to an already enormous financial commitment. You also mentioned in some comments that he would be open to adding you to the deed once your debt is resolved, and that you're financially stable but also just treading water, so to me it just sounds like risk management. I personally wouldn't move in with him if I were in your position. I could understand if your boyfriend had worked his ass off to be able to buy a condo and wanted to do it solo as a goal. But that doesn't sound like the case here, and even if that were the case I still wouldn't move in. If I were you, I would move into a cheaper place, if that's at all possible. I've lived in Van, I know how ridiculous rent is there. But if you could save any of that extra and put it into stocks and focus on growing your own savings. It sorta sounds like your boyfriend is using you to get himself ahead. He's denying you the opportunity for an ownership stake in something that would represent commitment. Short of marriage, investing in property together, even if you'd be the minority investor, signals permanence and commitment. He is explicitly telling you that he feels no such thing. He would put you in a dependent position where he could toss you out at any point. Yes, you'd have some tenant rights, but no stake. I would not accept such an arrangement. And only you can decide if it is a deal breaker. He's telling you his level of commitment. If that level is okay with you, keep your own place and stay in the relationship. But it sounds to me that it isn't okay. I'm so sorry, Op. I did this with my now husband when he moved into the condo I bought. You can always refinance later when you have been there for a while in both of your names. It sounds like in the 7 years you have been together you have been long distance and never lived together. Living with someone can change a lot of things, and right now if he puts you on the paperwork he risks you guys living together not working out, meaning you leave with what he has invested. He is honestly being reasonable and smart in my opinion. It is not a dig at your relationship, it is just a step he is not yet comfortable taking. Why not talk to him if you becoming a co-owner in the future is something he would consider after you had some time living together? I am dying and I have to tell my kids. Hello everyone. Made a throwaway account for this. I, 43F, have been married to my husband, 40M, for 13, almost 14 years. We wanted to start a family right away, so we had our oldest, 12M, right after we got married. Then we had our second, 10M, and had twins, 8M and F. We've been happy as we can be given the situation. When I was pregnant with the twins something was off. My breathing became a lot harder than it usually is, which is not the best given I have asthma. I thought it was stress or something, but when the twins were 6 months old I passed out and woke up in the hospital. There the doctor told me I had aggressive stage 3 lung cancer. My husband owns his own business and made sure to tell me that money was no object when it came to saving my life. He was there for everything. But as time went on we had to move in my friend, who fell on hard times, because I couldn't take care of 4 children. I couldn't ride bikes with them, I couldn't swim with them, I couldn't even walk with them. It's come and gone over the past 8 years. My husband got a 6-bedroom house so everyone has a room, and even installed an elevator because I can't go up and down the stairs anymore. I've been permanently on oxygen for 2 years now. So it's myself, my friend, my 4 kids and dog. Well, today I had an appointment with the doctor and he said the results of my CT scan were back, as we check on the cancer via CT scan every couple of months. The cancer has spread to my pancreas, liver, uterus and kidneys. There's nothing they can do. I went into immediate shock, but my husband, God bless him, began to talk about different treatment plans, if they could send me anywhere. The doctor said I've been on chemo for essentially 8 years and it's metastasized. There's tumors all over my body. I'm willing to go back to the hospitals I've been to, but I don't want to put my family in debt only for me to die. When my husband asked for a specific amount of time, the doctor said 6 months at best. At that point I fainted. When I woke back up my husband was beside me and my sister and mother were there too. They all had puffy red eyes, so I know they were crying. My husband saw I was awake and held me and sobbed silently. Just whispering it will be okay over and over again. I was in the hospital for a day before they let me out, but I told my husband I want to sign a DNR. He wanted to argue, saying that I was going to pull through. Maybe if it was just my lungs I would believe it, but it's several major organs and I know things only get worse from here. I told him my kidneys would fail, my liver would fail, he and my children will have to watch me die. And if he thinks he can keep me intubated for months on end, he has another thing coming." He then started to sob loudly, saying, "This isn't fair. We were each other's first and only, we built such a great life together, we were supposed to grow old together, see our grandkids, see the world more once it opens up, that he'd put so much time into his business that should have been spent with me." He was inconsolable. I was crying as well, but oddly I'm not that upset I'm dying. I'm not sure if it's the shock or the gravity of the situation just hasn't hit me yet, but I've already come to terms with this. But I told my husband we need to tell the kids what's going on. He adamantly refused, saying that they're going to find the right combinations of drugs to get rid of the cancer. Well, I don't even know how I'm supposed to approach this situation. I know as soon as I sit then down I'm going to cry and they're going to know something is wrong. At the same time, they deserve to know exactly what's going on with me. I don't know what I'm meant to do here, but my friend told me to come here for help. I'm also looking for advice as to what to do with my husband, as I don't know if I can help him or not. What can I do for him? Can I make him feel better? Any advice is welcome. Teary-eyed as I write this, God bless you. Would some kind of grief counseling be helpful? You know beforehand. Sorry, and your husband is right. It's not fair. I am so sorry for you and your family. I can't imagine what you are going through. I know thoughts and prayers don't mean much, but it sounds like you have had a good life and know what you want at this point. All I can say is to make sure you have all your final arrangements taken care of. It will be easier for everyone. Knowing that you are loved and will be missed, I hope, brings you some comfort. I can't imagine what this feels like for you. You definitely need a professional therapist or support group. I lost my mother last year to cancer. She made it 2 years with pancreatic cancer, but the doctors are right. A miracle alternate treatment is probably not going to happen. The children need to know. I wish I told my daughter about her grandmother, but I was scared and just never thought she was going to actually die one day. You all need to get out all your feelings and address this head on. If you keep this from your children, it's going to be a massive shock and it will impact them their entire lives. At least with them knowing you are sick, they have time to process this. Your husband is scared. He wants to do the right thing, but he just doesn't know what they is. I have absolutely no advice, but man, you got me sobbing badly. I hope everyone on Reddit sees your post and comes with great advice and loving words. I think you are absolutely brave and caring. Even when you are dying, you are caring for your kids and supporting your husband, when this time should be about you getting support. I have absolutely no words for how much of a lovely person you are. Your post really touched the most sensitive part of my heart. You should write them a memoir before you die, to make up for the stories they would have heard if you had lived longer. Could even be formatted like, advice for breakups, advice on drinking, stories about your uncles being dumb, family history, etc. You have to tell them. They deserve to know what's going on. My friend's husband was dying of cancer when their son was only 5, and they told him what was happening so he could appreciate the final days with his dad and ask him any questions and hear his stories and just be with him and soak it in. So sorry you're going through this. This is above Reddit's pay grade. See a professional. Therapist, grief counselor. You and your husband are, unfortunately, not the first to be put in this position, and there are better sources of information about this out there than Reddit. Since you seem to be well enough off that seeing a professional is not out of your budget, you should absolutely do that. With your husband. I am so sorry you are going through this. I hope the best to your family and you. You should write your children each a letter and your husband as well to read after you pass. I had a moment where I was touch and go, and this was the event that motivated me to do this. I wrote them all a letter that express my love but also has special moments and memories I wanted to share with them. My lecturer hired me as a naked maid and is uncomfortable now, but I need him to get over it. Too long did not read. Lecturer hired a lingerie-clad maid through an anonymous service. I work for the service and got sent over by accident, but didn't do it. It's been several months since and he's still uncomfortable around me, but I cannot avoid him or wait for him to get over it without compromising my studies. I'm in my early 20s and he is at least mid-30s. I work for a cleaning service that offers nude or lingerie-clad maid service. There is no sex or touching, and if boundaries get crossed then the client is struck from the client list. The client can ask for a type, e.g. hair color, race, weight, age, gender, but they cannot pick a specific maid. Their maid is assigned by the company. Both client and maid have the option of using a fake name, and pictures of either party are not provided. Any institutions the clients and maids are linked to, e.g. school or work, are also noted so something exactly like this doesn't happen. All of this is done for confidentiality. Clients can request after the first session that the same maid comes back, but that's it. I'm explaining this to show that it is impossible for him to have requested me or known it was me beforehand. I got a message from the company saying a nearby and anonymous client had requested a lingerie-clad maid and I was his type. I went, in jeans and a t-shirt with the lingerie underneath so he didn't see anything, knocked on the door, and my lecturer opened it. I realized what had happened and said that the agency typically filters these things out. Clearly there was an error, and I can stay and be professional or I can get him another maid. But whichever he chooses, we should both just forget this. He asked for another maid, so I called the office, explained, and left. The office says due to computer, human error no one clocked that we are linked with the same school. I had to go into school a few days ago along with some classmates and we ran into him. He was awkward, uncomfortable, wouldn't look me in the eye, and refused to even directly address me. We ran into him again later that day and it was the same, if not worse that time. We also had some classes at the end of last academic year, after the mix-up where I ended up at his place, and I was similarly ignored, though I attributed this at the time to the online format of the classes. This would just be one of those things, except I have classes with him all next year, as well as private meetings with him to discuss my studies. These have to be done with him, are compulsory, and can affect my grade. While I know that I can act professionally, I am concerned that he cannot, as it has been several months and he is still not passed it. I am putting a lot of time and money into this, and if this is indicative of how he will act for the remainder of it, I feel I will not get what I paid for and that my grade will suffer. I do not know how best to progress. I cannot afford to let my grade come to harm, but talking to him might make things even worse. Any advice? I definitely would not bring this up to anyone unless you absolutely have to or if he's done something you think is wrong. It sounds like you know he did nothing wrong. He's obviously very scared you will say something and that he could lose his job. I would definitely try to talk to him first if you're comfortable with that just to reassure him that he's okay. That dude is having a hard time. And not in the good way. I hope he doesn't think less of you, he might just be very embarrassed. God. That sounds horrible. I'm sorry that happened. Is it possible to try to corner him during office hours and apologize and explain the mistake again? Trying to smooth things over is really all I could think would help, especially since you have to maintain a relationship with this guy. He's afraid to lose his job. The fact is whether it was an innocent mistake or not does not help him at all. If this gets out he will lose his job. If you two do talk and move past it and it still comes out he will lose his job. All it takes is one accusation of favoritism and his career is over. Yes, it does affect your studies, but let's be real here, you will be able to recover. He will end up being seen as a leper. The only real thing you can do is talk to him, definitely not alone as that will automatically have him thinking you're setting him up, and explain you want nothing from him except that he does his job professionally. Once you get your point across then neither of you speak of it again. Nice try. I read this hentai. He's just embarrassed. Don't confront him. Just let it go. Pretend it didn't happen. Unless he does something unprofessional or unfair, there is no reason to talk to him about it. I don't think you have anything to worry about. Try and put yourself in his situation. You could quite easily gossip about him and make his entire teaching career very uncomfortable. If he's been a professor for a reasonable amount of time, it wouldn't be unlikely that he's seen his own colleagues caught up in drama relating to their personal life. I'd arrange a one-to-one meeting with him, and just be totally cool about it. Hey professor, I know things have been really uncomfortable between us since the event unfolded. I just want you to know firstly it's nothing to be ashamed about and secondly, I'm a professional, it doesn't go any further than between me and you. Nobody knows, and nobody will ever know. Can we please go back to the professor-student relationship we had previously? I would suggest emphasizing the academic side of any interaction. Email him through official university email channels 9 his staff and your student email, so that it is transparent, BCC in your Gmail account, and state that you want to ensure your upcoming academic meetings to discuss your studies are done and confirm your availability, that you felt you were being ignored last semester per year, term and you want to ensure that you get academic guidance this semester so that you can graduate. Nothing else needs to be referenced, implied or inferred. My 25 male girlfriend, 23 female, is playing weird drinking games, and I need some advice. Hey everyone, I'd like your advice on something that happened yesterday. I'm 26M. Currently in a long-distance relationship with my first serious girlfriend, 22F. This is also her first serious relationship, so we're a bit new to the whole thing. She has made friends in her new city, which is awesome. I've been out there and met most of them and they seem like nice guys and girls. Recently she sends me snaps of her and one other single girl in her group playing a drinking game with some guys in her friend group who I have met. During the game, the girls might have to flash their boobs, or guys show their manhood, draw tattoos on each other, stare into each other's eyes, and she had to take a body shot off of one of the guys. Admittedly, I'm not that worried about her falling for any of these guys, but I don't trust the guys in those situations, as they were playing the game that we played in high school to try to get women to flash us, kiss us, etc. Pretty sleazy, but this might be my karma. This type of thing is weird for me as I can't imagine wanting to see my friends' boobs, or show them my manhood. When my friend group hangs out, we play board games, or just talk. The type of games she was playing I don't see as something platonic friends play, but stuff you play with girls you invited over to party with. Now part of me is glad she's making friends and having a good time, as I encouraged her, and continue to encourage her, to do so. But another part is bothered about this whole situation. First, she never struck me as the "take shots off another guy" type of girl. Second, I feel like if roles were reversed, and I went drinking with my single friend and a bunch of single girls, and we were doing the same stuff, that she would not be alright with it. And I wouldn't do it, because I wouldn't feel right about it. She's had a lot of guy friends before, so this is probably nothing to worry about, but my gut reaction is to talk to her and tell her that it bothers me when she does stuff like that. It's not that I don't trust her, but that I don't trust the guys, and I'm a little taken aback that she would go play those types of games. I don't want her to have to tell her friends, "My boyfriend's not cool with me playing these games, can we just play charades?" But I guess we're just not on the same page as far as what is okay to do when in a relationship. Do I sound unreasonable for being bothered by this? I'd like some ladies' opinions, because maybe girls have a different idea about playing games like this with friends and I'm totally off. Thanks. Edit. Just to be clear, I don't think she was flashing at all, it was just a part of the game. Female here. I completely agree with you. Some of my girlfriends would say harmless, but I agree it's high school behavior, and not where you are at. This would be an absolute deal breaker for me. Taking shots off another man body while you're in another city, that would kill me inside. I wouldn't even be waiting to explain that it hurt you or that it has made you uncomfortable, unless you have told her in the past that you're okay with this. I would end the relationship. If she doesn't understand that this is completely unacceptable, she isn't ready to be in a relationship and she doesn't respect you. It bothered me and I'm not even you. Honestly, this is more than suspicious for me. Female here. Part of being in a committed relationship is not doing things you're so would not be okay with. And I would never be okay with any of this. These games are for people who are all single. I wouldn't play them single, but that's just me. It's today's version of strip poker. Would you be okay with her playing that? There are plenty of fun drinking games that do not require flashing or touching, locking each other's bodies. I would be honest with her about it. It's not normal, so if she gets even a little bit defensive, it's times to move on. It's pretty sus on her part, dude. That I think very much counts as cheating. This is incredibly immature behavior and really inappropriate for someone in a relationship. I'm a lady, lady enough to not play games like that anyway. And I would be really mad and just disgusted if my significant other did that. I think it is definitely okay to say you aren't okay with it. It would be a hill to die on for me, to be honest. Showing my tits isn't a huge deal, but body shots, staring in each other's eyes. The whole thing just pushes boundaries and just kind of enables people to get comfortable to hook up. That's not okay if you're already in a relationship.